It's physically impossible for me to find like a cool nickname for myself for the beginning of this episode. So instead of doing that, I got to give a little shout out to my boy Ray for letting me know that it was futile for me to complain about the AC unit in the background on the last couple episodes because you guys can't hear them. So thank you for letting me know, Ray. I won't talk about the AC anymore. Like, obviously, aside from this, you know what I'm saying? So if you ignore that this ever happens, then there will be no more AC lamenting. But it's the hatening. And today, I want to talk about, I don't really know like how to word it, but I want to talk about like the version of you that exists in other people's heads. You know, and I'm sure that makes sense, but there might be like more like articulate or like flowery ways to explain this concept, but you know what I mean. The version of you that everyone has in their mind, right? And I've been thinking about that because I'm like, I've been talking to some of my other family members a little bit more and like trying to reestablish like old relationships because of like the COVID stuff. Like, I don't know, I guess getting more chill and people becoming more social and like things, quote, going back to normal or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But like, I've been having to re-engage with people and like rekindle past relationships and stuff. And, you know, like in doing so, like, and I'm sure that everyone else is doing this also, right? Like you have your core group of people who you've been hanging out with this whole time. And now you're kind of, quote, getting back out there. You're like doing shit with like your lower level friends who are still very much your friends, but they're not part of your COVID bubble or, you know, like the people you see all the fucking time. So now like you're getting to this other social layer and you have to kind of like acclimate yourself to that space. You know what I'm saying? And in doing so, like you have to readjust to who these other people know you as, right? And I know that like that might be more of an issue for some people than others because there are a lot of us who like heavily compartmentalize our lives in order for, you know, to for whatever reason to best suit the situation of the people involved, right? And like a normal example would be like the version of you at work is not the version of you around your partner or your best friends or your drinking buddies or your bandmates or your family. You know what I mean? Like we all put on these different masks around people. The degrees might change, you know what I mean? Like you might be a completely different person at work than you are around your best friend. And then other people, like they're kind of always the same person, but there's a little bit of a degree of separation. Like you're not going to talk the same way to your grandmother as you do to your, you know, your coworker or whatever, or your best friend or the dude at the liquor store. You know what I'm saying? Like we are different people to everyone. And then through that, and then through the experiences that we have with other people, like you are a completely different character in everyone else's life. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows you from their lived experiences and then the things they've heard about you and the things that they see through social media or whatever the fuck. And then like the stories that the greater friend group tells them about you. But like the narrative of your life or whatever the fuck you want to call it is different in everyone else's opinion, brain. I don't know. The correct words are escaping me, but I think you get the gist, right? Like you are someone different in every person you know's brain or life or whatever the fuck. The version of you in your mother's head is completely different than the version of you in your next door neighbor's head or in your best friend's head or whoever. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows you as someone different. And that is something that really fucked me up when I started to like really think about it. And I never thought about it until I was in high school. And it was because that was when I started to kind of like, I guess, figure out who I was, you know, and not to be super like ghost world about it. You know what I'm saying? Like not to be super like art school, whatever. But it's like when I started to like figure out who I was or who I wanted to be or who I thought I was or whatever, right? I then began to divorce myself from what my family thought I was or what they knew me as, right? Because that was the first time I ever really had to consciously be like, okay, like I can't like smoke cigarettes at 15 around my mom. I can't like openly smoke weed and drink around my grandma, but like I still interact with them. So I have to like, you know, I have to be this other person than who I am around my friends, right? That was kind of like the first time I started to really consciously be like, oh, I got to be someone else now because like they need to know me as this. And then from there, it sort of like splintered out into a million different places. And I guess like technically, like if you look back and think about like how you try to make a good impression here or try to make this person you're courting think this or whatever, like we all do it all the time, but it really wasn't until like, you know, like 15, 16 years old when it was like, oh, okay, like I have to like be this different person around these people, like even like, and like, you know, like I'm in high school, so I can't be like who I am at like a house show, you know, in math class. And so then that like that grows and that keeps on going. And like sometimes some people are able to like not really have to consciously do that a lot because they have a career field or whatever that is in line with their social circle and they're always just kind of like the same thing. But then a lot of us, it's like if you have like a whatever type of job, like you can't wear like your Crass t-shirt to your fucking 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you are not like doing lines of coke and like huffing paint at your fucking 9 to 5 job, but then like when you hang out with your friends, you're not talking about like spreadsheets and like how Microsoft Word really went downhill after that last, you know, update, right, dude? And so like it like you become like a different person around whoever the fuck you're with, and then so they only know you as like that thing. And sometimes like those wires cross, right? That's why it's always like difficult when you have compartmentalized your existence to like have your work friends come meet you at the bar or to have like your family come to a show you're playing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like they don't know you as like the guitarist of this like hardcore band. They don't know you as like the dude that comes in at 2 a.m. to always get pizza when you're kind of drunk at the fucking corner store. Like they know you as whatever. And so you kind of have to like sacrifice someone's image or whatever, or like try to blend the two to make them like compatible. But like it's always just like very like interesting, like kind of crazy thing to try and like navigate through. You know what I mean? Like it really is just like like what am I gonna do like when these worlds collide, right? And at the same time, like to make it more like in tune with what's happening now, like now that, you know, we're getting to a place where like people might start like going back to their old haunts and might start like hanging out and doing whatever the fuck again. Like I've come into this issue a little bit where it's like, you know, if people only know you as like this person from like the bar or this person from like, you know, like shows or whatever, like they only know you like in your party mode. And then they see you at the grocery store. It's like kind of weird because you're not used to like seeing the person who's like blackout drunk at the end of the bar, like yelling at the bartender to play whatever fucking bullshit song. Like you're not used to seeing that person just like comparing the price of bunches of bananas. You know what I mean? And so like that was something that like kind of crossed my mind when I would start to see people from around again and be like, oh, like I've never seen you like out and about, so this is weird, but also like I wonder how weird you think this is because you only know me in this like very specific context. You know what I mean? And I had thought about this before a little bit, like when I was living, working, and hanging out in the same neighborhood, and I would see the same fucking people like every day, like on my walk to or from work. And we all do. Like if you live, you know what I mean? All of us have this, right? Like there are just like the random like proverbial NPCs that you kind of just like always see and are just like, oh yeah, I've seen that person around. Like on your walk to work, or like when you go get your coffee, or when you go to the bar, or when you go to the restaurant you go to every week. You know what I'm saying? Like these, like, you know them, they know you, but you only know them in the very specific context. So in the same way that you're like, oh shit, that's the person that works at the fucking coffee place. Like when you see them somewhere else, like they have that same version of you in their mind. And it's always very interesting to think about like who are you? When these people think about you, like, who the fuck are you to them, and how far away is their version of you from your version of you, right? Because all of us have a version of ourselves that we are convinced is us. You know what I'm saying? Like, when someone asks you, like, who the fuck are you? Like, you might say whatever, but in your mind, like, you have a pretty clear idea, like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I do, this is, you know what I'm saying? But then, like, you project and you portray yourself to every single person differently, because every single situation in which you could be portraying yourself is different, you know, and then they will interpret that however they see fit. So the person that they experience is different. Everybody experiences you in a different way, so everyone knows you as a different version of yourself. So you can, like, see two people who might know you from around the neighborhood, but then they know you as two completely different people, but you're still the same person. The same way that you know them in the same light. And it just kind of like started like really like getting in my head, specifically like, because like, as I've said on the show before, like, I moved recently and I'm like in a new neighborhood, but I still like exist in my old neighborhood. And so now it's just kind of like, fuck, like, I wonder what these new people think of me, what the old people think of me now that I'm not around anymore, and things have changed, but things for everyone has changed. And it's just like this, you know, now that you're getting back into, like, theoretically, you're getting back into like seeing your old friends again, you know, and I've had like a conversation with multiple people where, like, you know, you kind of ask like people who you're close to, like, how have you been? What have you been up to? What are you doing? And you can tell by the questions that they ask, or specifically like their follow-up questions, that they have a very specific idea of who and what you are. And sometimes it is accurate, you know, and sometimes it's like really inaccurate, and you got to be like, wait, do you really think that's like all I am, or that's who I am, or that's what I like? You know what I mean? And not to like make it, you know, like purely anecdotal or whatever, but like, I think that really does reinforce like the general, you know, theme of the episode, which is just like I've said, like, you exist as a certain version of yourself in everyone else's head. And it's just very interesting to think about it, because like, who are you to them? You know, who are you in your general friend group? You know, like, are you the mom friend? Are you the one that's always late? The one that doesn't answer the phone? The wasted friend? The determined friend? The painfully honest? You know what I mean? Like, we all are these different things to different people, and maybe like multiple people will see you in the same way within a friend group. Like, in your friend group of these 7 specific people, you know, they all know you as the person who doesn't answer the phone. They all know you as the one who makes sure you get home okay. They all know you as the one who will, you know, warn you if the person who you are now seeing like kind of sucks, and like they'll be very blunt about it. Like, we all have these different roles in our, you know, infinite combination of friend groups, because that's really what it is. Like, that, you know what I mean? And it's interesting to really think about that, because like that really fucks with me a lot, because like, I built like the Hoop character years ago to like, because I was like unsatisfied with who I thought I was in my friend group or in my social circles and blah, blah, blah. And then kind of like got lost in that sauce and whatever. But it's like, and I've talked about that a little bit on the show before, but it's like trying to figure out who I am personally to all the people that know me is very fucking exhausting, because then I like will keep up with the character or won't keep up with the whatever. And then there's only a few people who I feel like really know who I actually am, blah, 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 blah. But like, everybody has that, right? Everybody has to have that, right? Because like, you become a version of yourself to everybody, and then you either have to reinforce that or fight against it, or, you know, do whatever the fuck. And now that we're all back to hanging out with each other again, like, are you going to continue to be, you know, the friend that's always down to fucking give rides to everybody? Are you going to be the friend that's always like the designated driver? Or are you going to be the friend that like always wants to get snacks? The friend that falls asleep first at the party? You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have these titles that we may or may not be aware of. And the scariest thing is like the prospect of knowing what those, you know, assigned roles are in our friend group or in like our social circle. Because I really don't want to know, because I feel like whatever the fuck anyone tells me is my role in our whatever group is not going to be what I think it is or should be, and it's just going to bum me out. The same way that everyone has to feel the same way. You know what I mean? Like, we think about it in terms of like, oh yeah, like they know that they're the responsible one. You know what I mean? Or they're the ditzy one, or they're the, you know, they're the goofy one. But then you say that, and sometimes they're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm not the fucking, why am I the smart one? Why can't I be the cool one? You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting to think about that, and to try and figure out who you are, and then like think about who all your friends are in your group. You know what I mean? But that is it. We're done. The episode is over. Thank you forever for listening to this little show that we do. We really do appreciate it more than anything. We appreciate you listening, you know, to everything that we do. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review. Give us a good rating or whatever the fuck. Wherever you listen to the show, it really takes no time and no effort and helps us more than you could ever imagine. Tell your friends about the show. That's also an amazing thing that people can do. You know, just fucking force them to listen to it at gunpoint. You can find The Hatening on all social media platforms. From there, you can find the individual profiles for myself and Andrew. Hit us up. We like that. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. And don't forget to tell your friends you love them.